206.
We say to America is be true to what you said on paper.
All right, welcome back to the final hour of At the Round Table with MAMLEO. I'm your host, Larry Ellison, in studio with my brother from another. The doctor is in the house. Dr. Bradley is in here. He's over there checking his pulse and give you a checkup for the neck.
Well, brother, I'm just looking at the time, man. I can't believe it. We went to 2 hours of broadcast
Time flies
already.
when you're having fun.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why people miss you when you're not here.
Yeah, man. I'm glad I'm here, man. God is so good.
There you go. You want to thank our sponsor, Guarantee Rate Mortgage Company. For all your mortgage needs, give branch manager Cora Holbrook a call at area codes 781-342-0252. Guarantee Mortgage is located at 75 State Street in downtown Boston, Mass. Guarantee Rate Mortgage Company, guaranteed to exceed your expectations. Now we're going to go on this line. We're talking about politics, Dr. Bradley, and I know Jamal is on the line. So in this week's edition of the Bay State Banner by Yahoo Miller, says progressives triumph in council election, but activists wary of moves policy shifts. And it's a little bit about what this topic is. The Boston City Council election was as sleepy as expected for an off-year contest. With no mayor on the ballot, just 19% of registered voters turned out to cast ballots for an 8-way at-large race and 6 contested district races. But behind those low turnout numbers on November 7th was a quiet battle for the soul of the city, with a group of conservative business owners ponying up $320,000 to forward Boston on an independent expenditure political action committee that backed 5 right-leaning candidates. That pack squared off against a coalition of labor unions that backed 4 progressive-leaning candidates, with $100,000 spent on glossy mailers sent to likely voters through this bold pack. Michelle Wu also backed 4 progressive-leaning candidates, each of whom won in election contested races, expanding her reach into the body that is meant to check her power. By the numbers, the changes to the council were not as sweeping as the $420,000 in outside spending would have suggested. 2 of the most progressive members, Jamaica Plain-based District City Councilor Kendra Lara and Hyde Park-based 65 City Councilor Arroyo, who had already been ousted in the primary, were replaced by Wu-backed candidates Attorney Ben Weber and in the 6th, and Enrique Pepin, who headed Wu's Office of Neighborhood Services. Just 2 of the 5 candidates backed by Forward Boston, funded by Trump supporter and New Balance chairman Jim Davis, made the cut. Incumbent at large City Councilor Aaron Murphy and Dorchester-based District 3 candidate John Fitzgerald. The council remains a left-leaning body in a city that has consistently backed progressive candidates in recent election cycles. So, and it goes on. But again, do we see any change in this city council race? And the number is 19%. And if you go inside those numbers, it'd be interesting to see what the numbers look like in the communities of color, because usually those are around 9 to 11%. So that 19% is probably pushed up by outside West Roxbury's, Dorchester. You look at those numbers, and even you see Ruthie top the city council at large with the numbers. So a lot of times people vote down the ballot. They've got their person who they want. And so it's a throwaway, the other one, because there's no one else on there that they really are looking to vote for.
You just close the eyes and vote for one.
There you go. Jamal, I know you're back with. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the round table.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah,
Morning, Dicker.
This is an authorization, and that's a concern with the voter. And no, this isn't a shot to Michelle Wu, but when she backed all the people in the election that are now going to be city councilors for next year moving forward, that concerns me, because now that tells me that now she's going to have more influence on the city council, and those that she back is going to be in her front or back pocket, if you know what I mean.
Well, I let me just say, because one of them I have to speak to from a personal. I know Ben Weber, and like I said, I don't have a crystal ball to see the forecast, but I know he was part of the legal team that fought several battles with us against the city for discrimination against black police officers. Matter of fact, they were instrumental in that $40 million statewide judgment that was just awarded by police officers, as well as the recent ones where the city is now ponying up close to almost $2.6 million for a drug test that we knew that was discriminatory in the long list. So I'm looking at during my tenure as president of MAMLEO, these lawsuits that are coming down. I was tallying it up the other day, my brother, close to $60 million.
So who's paying that, though?
The state and the taxpayers are really the ones who are paying it. You're right in flagging that. It's the taxpayers. I say this because I think Ben Weber has shown his independence. Now, I know people say, get on the council and change, but he's one that I feel like would see something that is wrong and would not go along with it, even if Mayor Wu. I'm not saying he's going to be there to oppose or go along with all her policies if it makes sense, but I feel like she has shown his independence. I don't know. I know the other person was part of her staff, different there. I don't know if he's going to be independent now that he is accountable to the people. We'll have to wait and see. But
so what is the power in this structure of government for the council? What can they do to stop the mayor from moving forward with the policy?
Jamal, you may be able to weigh in because you probably paid more attention to it. I know with this the previous election when the mayor there was some changes in giving the city council a little bit more power, but historically, the city council has been very weak. Once they pass the budget, they pretty much are spectators and delegate it to constituent services, which some of them deliver on, some of them don't. But Boston is a mayor power city, one of the few that operates that.
That's my point. That's where I'm going.
Yeah,
it's like how much influence can she really have on him, but on them because. Oh, I'm sorry, Jamal.
So here's the thing. I don't think that association or having a relationship with the mayor equals automatic allegiance or bought and paid for or whatever. Not only I, as well as you're the one to introduce me to Ben Weber, but I think that all of these candidates have their own independence of thought. I'll give you an example. Henry Santana, who a lot of people are also saying is in her pocket and so on and so forth. But one of the statements that I heard him make is just his experience as a black Dominican man. He has an entire different life experience. So that's going to guide and shape him, in how he moves and operates. And I don't know, I think that when we kind of do that, we don't allow people to, it's the true nature of prejudice. We're prejudging before we allow people to show us what they got.
Yeah.
And then two, you got to think about it. If you are a candidate, what a fool you would be to turn away an endorsement from the sitting mayor.
Yeah.
Right? So just as a political strategy, I mean, I was running as a write-in candidate. If the then mayor would have said, yeah, vote for Jamal, I'd have been happy as a clam. Right? So I think that we can't just chalk that up, and we just got to really judge people more on what they do. Now, too, I'm a fan of Mayor Wu. And we don't agree on everything, and I don't think that anyone, should. But I trust that her heart and her head is in the right place, and I also trust that she is listening to some people. The chorus could be more.
Well, I was going to say, I think that's where I disagree with you on her. I think she may not be listening to all the right people. I think I thought she'd be more open to listening to people, including people like myself, have a sit down and talk about what it was like being a black police officer and having gone through all of these things and why these lawsuits. But then again, I have to say, she was on the council and I brought them to her attention as well as the others, not just singling her out. But now that she's the mayor, she's the top person. She had that prior knowledge and still no conversation.
So all I can say, individual stuff, obviously I can't speak to. I'm clearly not her spokesman. But no, I can't, nor would I try to speak on that. But what I can say, as a person who, everybody should know, I work at City Hall, I work for the BPDA, so I can only speak for my job and what I've witnessed for others in terms of community input. Because obviously the mayor she can't be everywhere all at once, right? But for at least all of the things, like, okay, great example, my job, we get a lot of critique. A lot of people paint us as the villain, the BPDA. Evil, evil, evil. All I can say is that since I've worked there, people break their behinds and bend over backwards to conduct community meetings, do standouts, whatnot, take in various forms of input, whether it's online or surveys or phone calls or in-person meetings, Zoom meetings. So yes, while the mayor cannot be there for everything or any leader of any department, I can say that people are working to get community input, and that stuff does, run up the tree. And, now once again, too, we still not maybe in agreement, at the end of the day, but I can tell you these things are being heard. That's what I can say.
But this goes back to where you're talking about having the right people in there. I think she has a lot of young people in there who lack the experience and the maturity in the fields. Now, they may have a title and a resume that's impressive, but a lot of the work, that, especially city work, you really need to have some connection. Like, I know her chief community outreach person who has been in some scandals recently of late, and it's been constant. And a lot of, I hear back from her name escapes me right now, Brianna, is that the disengagement with do you know who I am? These people are put in these positions that they probably would have never been in, but because of her political I saw her with the mayor quite frequently when she was running, and she gave her a prominent position, but you got to follow through with that.
So obviously, once again, I can't speak to individual situations, particularly stuff like that. But all I could do is encourage, and I know her. I've only known her as a nice young lady. I don't know her on a super, deep level, neither professionally or personally. But she's always just been, nice and everything to me. So all I could say is that in cases like that, then I would encourage you, particularly with the power of this platform, is that you should invite her on, and and she could tell you about because I believe she's the now, I forget what they call it now because they actually changed it. Whether it's neighborhood services, community engagement in general,
right? But those all titles sound nice in those labels, but if you're not delivering on those things, and there's from what I've read with Ms. Miller, is that there's a lot of internal things in there that if your staffing is not working with you, then that is that's going to spill over on how the community gets services delivered, right?
Yeah, I mean, once again, I can't speak to that. I would just encourage you to reach out to her.
Yeah.
We reach out to her or the city, for comment or interview or what have you, because she has an important job. And, not just like her, right? But the people who are underneath her, whether that's like, I don't know, maybe like, 20, 30 people I'm estimating. And I'm just talking about now the various like neighborhood services and all this type of thing, so I just don't want people to get caught up to think like nobody's doing no work, because people are actually working, people are doing stuff. And, and if anybody has questions, I'll give you a great example. I recently had an opportunity to have Frank Farrell. I don't know if you know Frank Farrell.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, good. So Frank Farrell from the Office of Black Male Advancement. And a community group wanted him to present just because they were like, we really don't know the depth of what y'all do, and so we want you to come. And he came and he did a fantastic presentation. And a lot of people were, had more clarity, including myself, because I didn't know everything that they were doing and everything. So sometimes I think, clarity can come,
but I think also they that needs to be reciprocated on both ends. They need to reach out. They should know who they should be getting in touch with so they can get there, push their message out so people know who they are, and I'm not saying that I shouldn't reach out to her, but I think they pretty well know what's out there in the community, and sometimes I think that's intentional that they don't go in there because they don't want to hear it, huh? Right? They don't want to get the tough questions. People like Ditko, how is your connection with the city services?
I want to make sure that this is very, very clearly that I wish to vote, and no disrespect to Jamal Crawford, but this is a man who knew about the existence of T. Michael Thomas People's Academy and has done nothing as a mayor to help this man to get the tangible resources he needs to help black and brown people who are returning citizens to get back into the middle class lifestyle. Also, as a registered voter, last time I checked, voting is an exchange. I vote you into office to help me get the resources and tangibles that I need. It's not about one person. It goes both ways. No disrespect to Jamal Crawford, but I'm giving her a complete F because she's not helping me, who I voted for, in making sure that how my community and how I, as a person who's working as a minimum wage job worker, isn't helping me get to where I need to go.
So sounds like you're saying is there's been very little growth in the people that they claim they were going to represent. I mean, a lot of the issues, unless you could jump into about like issues, like mass and cash. I call it seasonal, right? That you go down there now and it looks like, oh, okay, they've gotten this problem eradicated. This is the same play last year. When it's cold outside, people are more inclined to take your offer and go someplace warm. Who wants to be out there in the daylight today? Almost like the Groundhog Day. Once folks see their shadow in the spring, mass and cash will be back and boom, like the flowers. They will be blooming out there, and you will not be able to stop it.
But so where are they going in the winter months?
They're more inclined to take your offer up and going and staying in shelters. Like
so, why can't those shelters be open?
They are, but here's the thing: these folks are creatures of habit. When it's nice outside, they don't want to be inside, even if it's air conditioned. They prefer to be down at Mass and Cass.
I mean, you're not preventing them from being inside, but you're preventing them from staying outside.
Well, yeah, but it's a lot more accommodating when it's 70 degrees in that.
Yeah, I got you.
Than when it's 7.
Yeah, and Dr. Bradley, these shelters, there's one major factor. You can't get high in there.
Right, right. There's structure in there. You can do whatever you want inside your tent.
That's where I'm going. So what is there, not to that's turning them off? What's there? And you just hit it. You can't get high there. There's structure.
Right.
So therefore, you're out there. You're free. Okay.
You can't have sex. You can't drink.
Right.
You can't sell cigarettes.
Right.
None of all the fun stuff.
Right.
It's no fun.
But it's one of the other things the mayor ran on, and I haven't really seen much improvement. And again, I know that it's not that she doesn't want improvement, but again, it goes to who you put around you. Is our schools are just in such disarray. I mean, it doesn't get the attention that it deserves.
Hire a superintendent?
Yeah, they've hired a lot of people. When I tell you they've hired a lot of people, in my opinion, they've hired a lot of the wrong people because, again, the titles sound impressive. Their resumes may even be impressive because you can make it sound like and do, but results, I don't see much.
But so let me just say this to Dicker, right? Because clearly, we've been on a bunch of shows together. I've heard you. I feel like I know you, and I'd like to meet you one day. But what's funny to me is like how there's so many levels to this. So both in my activist experience and now working for the city. Before being a consultant, a bunch of different lives I've lived, I see the same things. So, for instance, let's say you say, I hate bike lanes in my community, right? But then your neighbor says, I want more bike lanes. I want more parking. Neighbor says, I don't want any parking. So you get the point where, yes, like you say, you voted for her to do the things that you want for you. But one man, one vote. There's a bunch of people who voted for her to do what they want her to do.
Right, and to that point, Jamal, let me just read this. It says, her whole image is as a progressive mayor. Collins said, now that she's backtracked from those values, that could do damage to her politically. So, folks, right in this article, what you're saying is that she may pay a price for that because she is now shifting in a different direction, the mayor.
Well, once again, that's their view, and I can't speak to it. That's what I'm saying about the nuances. They can say she's backing up from her progressive views, but in her mind, I'm sure, she's moving more towards them. But whatever they called her as progressive before might not have been their progressive label, might not have been her progressive label. This is why we got to let people define for themselves. And I would love, the mayor should be on the show or whatnot, because she's, as anybody knows.
But once they get anointed, they're too busy.
Well, once again, you should make the overture, because she is clearly, she's a grown lady. She's no dummy. She can speak for herself, and she knows what she's doing. And this is the tough stuff about not only being adults and all this, but living in a society where decisions get made. And this is my point about all those different, however many people vote, right? And everybody is voting in their own interest, and then the mayor is coming into it not as a blind person, but and not just her. I'm talking about any mayor, any person in leadership in that type of position, a mayor or governor. But then you also have your own ideals and your own stuff. So even if people voted, let's say, for against abortion, but you're a person who believes in choice, you're probably not going to go against your fundamental moral thing, because you still have your own path.
Right.
So I think for a lot of this, we kind of got to take a slightly a wait and see attitude.
I've been waiting 4 years, but let me just go into these numbers here a little bit more.
Well, they've been 4 years with this one.
Almost. Seems like it. Turnout was somewhat lower in communities of color. In the Roxbury-based District 7, which is Tanya Fernandez who won, 5,675 people ballots were cast there. And incumbent Tanya Fernandez Anderson handily beat challenger Althea Garrison with a 70% of the vote in the District 6 race in Jamaica Plain and West Roxbury, which saw Weber elected over William King. Turnout was nearly 3 times at 15,718 votes. So you see what they're saying here. This is what I'm talking about, right? West Roxbury, Jamaica Plain, right?
But also the nuance. There was more at stake. Councilor Anderson was a shoo-in. There was not a serious contender. God bless Althea Garrison or whatnot. But when you put yourself in that quote-unquote perennial category, people often don't take you serious.
They don't.
And on top of that, too, it's an off-season.
But there shouldn't be any off-season, right? That's what I'm saying. People, it doesn't matter now. But it does, because these people are going to be in office for the next 2 years. Here's the other thing I think that gets lost here, Jamal, and this is where I would push back a little bit, is that those numbers, right, what that also says is that if I'm the mayor, who am I going to give more attention to, the 15,000 or the 5,000? So even if she's running unopposed, you want to run up those numbers and say these are people who could potentially vote. So if I'm out there campaigning, which community you think are going to spend more time with from Mayor? The one with the 15,000 voters or the one with the 5,000 voters? I've got twice as many people here who could put me back in office. I've only got a third of that who could not put me back in. Where am I going to spend my money and my resources? So
sometimes that political strategy pans out, but other times it does not. So there's a lot of reason. Once again, the off season. There's a lot of reason for low voter turnout, particularly in this scenario. There's other times when we show up and show out. And that's when people are electrified. Obviously, we saw that during Obama or whatever.
Right.
And there really
when marijuana was on the ballot here.
There you go. And people say smokers are lazy.
Right. Right. That's not that case. I remember when they were waiting before the place. That was the first time, I gotta say, that I've worked an election where I've gotten there and people were waiting to vote. The first time in all my career.
Really?
They were there early, but they smelled funny.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like, it's not legal yet. But
literally, I think that there's a place for everybody, and I believe critique. This is my philosophical revolutionary thing. I think critique is great. I know myself, when I've been in positions of leadership and whatnot, I want critique because, to me, it makes me better. I'm not afraid of it. And particularly if you have a strong foundation that you stand on, you can use it to strengthen the foundation as opposed to look at it as a threat to the foundation.
Right. So good. So, Dr. Bradley, I want to get your take on this. I want to hear from Dickens. So, looking at that from an academia perspective, I've got 15,000 people in Jamaica Plain and Roxbury, West Roxbury, that voted for me. I've got 5,000 people in Roxbury that voted for that counselor there. Which counselor are you going to give more attention to, or are you just going to treat them equally? I mean,
I can't afford to treat them equally. I couldn't. As a mayor who's looking to run for office, I'm probably going to put my basket in that truck that has the 15,000 voters, and because those individuals are coming out. Now I cannot afford just to completely neglect or disregard the 5,000. But when the 15,000 speaks, let's do the math. This is simple math, man.
So you see, and the reason why I say that is because I've talked about this. That is a big reason why, in my opinion, why the O'Brien is moving to West Roxbury and leaving Roxbury, right? Because that is one of our premier exam schools, which now it's not based on your exam any longer. It's based on your zip code. So you no longer have to take an exam. So now if I'm in a West Roxbury zip code, it's more likely my child will be able to go to a top-notch school, and I don't have to pay for it.
So
let's also look at the 1 second, Jamal. Let's look at the issue around stopping it. If the 15,000 voters were in the Roxbury community, they would probably be in a better position to stop that move.
That's correct.
Than the 5,000 voters out of here. That's my.
Well, to that point, and I'll let Jamal jump in. Is that they wanted to your point? Is that they wanted to build a charter school in that same neighborhood, and that community said no. Now it's going to be built down there near Mass and Cass. So your point is well taken. Right. Is that what they want? But they're like, hey, this is great. This is going to help with my bottom line, and I don't blame them for that.
No, I don't blame them either. But if you want to stop something from happening in the community, and your voting turnout is, you gotta come from the community perspective.
That's right.
You know what I mean? So if your voting is low, then they're not listening to you.
Exactly.
You don't have you have no power. You're limiting your power. That's my point.
Jamal, go ahead.
While I agree that voting is definitely a tool and should be used, all I'm saying is there are also movements with power that have happened without voting at all. So, for instance, and politicians do care about people who don't even vote. For instance,
I'm not saying they don't, but they care more about those because they count votes.
Well, okay,
they might not. They might care, but they listen to those who voting.
That's right.
As opposed to those who are not.
Okay, so put it like this. When we met during the Safe Homes Initiative thing, right? I don't believe I was voting then, because I literally didn't. I was like, man, forget that. It's all a sham. The government, and I wasn't voting up until recently, and that was probably 20 years ago now, right? So in any event, I started voting maybe like 15 years ago. But in any event, but I was still able, based on activism, based on organizing community, to still move issues, get people mobilized. A lot of that was with youth who couldn't even vote. A lot of that was with people like me who, based on political, religious, and or whatever reasons, did not vote. But we were able to move stuff. So while I say generally that holds up, I think that in certain it's not a universal.
No, it's not nothing 100%. But I think that politicians clearly everything now is crunched by numbers, and they spend all these strategists, and they look at that and they say, okay, this community 5,000, this one 15,000. That's just human nature, right? I'm going to go where I can get the best results. That's why you very rarely see politicians until the last week or so, like they'll open up a campaign office in our neighborhood, right? Where there's first one they open up is in West Roxbury, Jamaica Plain. Mayor Wu's campaign office was in Jamaica Plain, right next door to the police station. It wasn't in Roxbury. The last 2 weeks in the campaign, she opened up one. I think Cliff ran his office and several others up there. You wouldn't even know it was there. It looked like a deserted warehouse, commercial space up there on Blue Hill Avenue. So that's what I'm saying. It's all about image and optics on what neighborhoods we really are going to invest more in others. But also that comes from the people in the community not investing in
That's a great example too. Yeah, okay, so did you look at the numbers that, for instance, somebody like Cliff and Sean Nelson got?
I did.
So now, at large in the city, Sean Nelson, I forget what it was, 10,000, like 600 something, and Cliff got like 10,100 something, right? This speaks to another factor of it. Well, there's several factors there. One is positioning on the ballot, the power of just being on the ballot. All right? Cliff, because if folks don't know, to determine who goes first on the ballot, they do a little roly-doly thing like bingo, and then they pick a thing, right? And if I'm correct, Cliff was either number 1 on the ballot or number 2, but he had very high prominence, and that helped.
Yeah.
Also, to the fact that both of them have very Anglo-English-sounding names, right? Not a name like Jamal, or not a name like, Tyrone Jackson, or something like that, right? That speaks black. Clifton Braithwaite, Sean Nelson, sounds, pretty safe, right? Or safe, just safe, right? It doesn't scream anything either way, right? And then on top of that, they took the advantage of, a lot of people talk about name recognition, where you do better when people know you. There's also reverse name recognition. They did better because people did not know them, right? Particularly in the case of Sean Nelson, who, as on one of the broadcasts was revealed, used to be involved in the adult industry, right? So, that's interesting, and I'm sure all the 10,000-something people who voted for him, they had no idea of that. They just checked the box because it was one of the things, and they did it quick. Some of these people were just like, oh, I think there needs to be some men on the council. So they do that, or whatever. Because it certainly wasn't because there was a widespread, grassroots movement of volunteers and organizers. It certainly wasn't because there was a lot of money in the campaign coffers or a lot of material. Both of those campaigns had almost $0. And then people are looking at that like, wow, look at what they accomplished with $0. Yeah. And I'm like, yo, you have to understand the way that the math works. Sometimes the math could work very much against you.
Yeah.
Sometimes, in this case, they got 10,000 votes. Yeah. But I can tell you too, they can't tell you who voted for them.
No. Let's grab this call, Jamal. Let's see what this other caller is. Good morning, caller. Welcome to the round table.
Good morning.
Good morning. We have woken up a sleeping giant. Go ahead.
Well, I gotta be sleeping.
This just.
Let me just say this.
Okay.
Hold on, let me get a cigarette.
You know what he says? And let me just say this. It's coming. Go ahead. We're sitting down.
Mayor Wu has demonstrated the fact that her decisions as it pertains to the black community has nothing to do with the number of votes she gets here. She has made it very clear that she has no respect for black people whatsoever. Look at this. The terminology of people of color is overrated. Let's look at Gandhi. Now everybody says, oh, that Dr. King adopted the philosophy of Gandhi of nonviolence, which he did. But you know what Gandhi said about black people? That we subhuman and lack intelligence. And so the mayor has demonstrated the fact that she has no respect for this community. It had nothing to do with the road. Let's look at land disposition in our community. Giving land away to developers without consulting our community. The O'Brien, I heard you bring up the O'Brien, right?
Yeah.
Came in, did a press conference at the O'Brien to announce that that's what they want to do. And by the way, we are opposing that. There's action coming up. But the bottom line is that she came in there and said, this is what we intend to do, invited the president of Bunker Hill Community College, who's Asian, and then you got Jackie Jenkins Scott, the president down the street at Malcolm X Boulevard at the RCC, who never even got an invite. So what I'm saying is that, when you talk about the redistricting aspect, the whole thing right there, when they had that dispute, she lined up with the white councilors against our community. So what I'm saying is that we cannot be talking about the fact that it's based on the number of voters that come out. She has demonstrated from the very beginning.
Well, let me just say this to you. I agree with most of what you say. I think there's where I'll push back. It is because guess what? If 15,000 instead of 5,000, if 5,000 people came out in West Roxbury and 15,000, I'm not saying that she wouldn't, that wouldn't be a persuasion for her to still, but because of the demographics and the makeup of that community. But it sends a very powerful message because we vote in so low numbers, that people don't fear us. We don't come together. Like there's a few people like yourselves and a few others who are advocating.
Larry, I hear you.
No, let me just say this. Let me say, because you guys had a press conference or something down there at about this thing, rightfully so, about the removing of the O'Brien to West Roxbury. And I think if I recall right, it was you and Priscilla were the only two that showed up. There weren't the parents who were going to be impacted by this in the community, and there weren't the folks from the community that showed up. That makes a difference. When they let me just finish and then I'll let you say.
Okay.
When they wanted to put that school in at that charter school over there in Rosendale, that same area, those folks said, "Oh no, we don't want those kids over here because we know what the population of that looks like. It doesn't fit in our narrative." That got nailed down because of the outcry and the community coming out and saying we're not having it, and it didn't happen.
Well, let me just say this. Don't underestimate the parents in this community who are now mobilizing in regards.
Please, can you pass my number on to them? Because Siddiqui, I'm not being sarcastic here. I don't see them. I'm trying to get them involved. What's happening with their kids? I don't see them.
Okay. Let me just say that they're not sitting aside. I'm working with these parents because they're actively saying, you know what, we can't. And let me just say this. Tanya Anderson's advisory council. I serve in that council. And so I made a statement a few months ago because everybody was talking about Mayor Wu and how they loved her and blah, blah, blah. They said we had some differences. I said, look, don't underestimate that Asian woman because she got ice water in her veins and doesn't like black people. And so people were saying, oh, why would you be so negative? 2 months ago at an advisory council meeting, they were agreeing, they were saying she was racist. So what I'm saying is that let's not look at the whole thing around this. Look here, there could be 15,000 in Roxbury and 5,000 in West Roxbury, and she would still do what she's doing in terms of black people because she don't appreciate or respect black people. That's where she's coming from. So I'm saying it's not about the vote.
So your argument is that your argument is that she does not. It's not about the votes. It's about the fact that she doesn't like or respect black people and what black
exactly. She was on Mel Gandhi. Okay, so this whole thing about people of color.
Okay, so
what's name is overrated.
Let's hear Jamal's response.
So I'm gonna just say that in 2023, about to be 2024, it really it's sad because Siddiqui, we've had our differences and we continue to, but you've been around black scholars, intellectual debates. This type of thing. I think a lot of what you say is that's so bombastic. So first of all, you say she basically hates or doesn't like black people, disrespects all black people. Well, that's just not true. Secondly, when you then point to Asian woman, ice water in her veins, likening her to Gandhi, a lot of that sounds like real anti-Asian hate. Which I think. Hold on. Let me finish and then I'll be quiet. Let me just finish and I'll be quiet. Which I take specific umbrage to, being that my daughter is half black and half Filipino. I'm the black part.
So let me just say this: that my track record would dictate the fact that I'm not quote unquote anti-Asian. And let me just say this: in terms of our differences, Jamal, you have differences with me. I don't have none with you. I just kind of chuckle when I hear you. But let me just say this: that the bottom line is that
it's cold outside, but it's hot up in here.
The basic sentiment in the community right now is that she just does not care for black people. I mean, that's not about anti-Asian hate.
But
she has demonstrated
let me just
what her position is in terms of everything that black people wanted. She has worked against.
Well, I
can tell you right now, we're going to be having a situation around the O'Briens that's coming up in the very near future, and you better believe she's going to be resistant to it.
Well, let me say this, Siddiqui, because this is what I say. Then I could make that argument about black people must hate black people in a sense, because watching the lack of participation, the lack of involvement, and I see it front row and center of parents involved in their kids, their education, their safety, and not holding themselves first of all, if they hold themselves, then you can hold our elected officials accountable for what's happening, the lack of education. So that's not just the mayor, that is the parents as well, because this would not be happening. It doesn't happen in suburban schools. It doesn't happen in the medical system. Why? Because the involvement. I see what happens when parents are involved, and I see it every single day, and it's a big part of why I'm getting out of the system, because I see it on a daily basis that there's not the support that is needed by the parents because they feel like their job is just getting the kids out the door and then they're done. They don't take an active participation in what the politicians are doing to move that. And politicians are politicians. If they're going to go where their numbers are. So
let me just say this, that in terms of Menino, Flynn, look here, I've spoken in the past about them in terms of their racism, and it has nothing to do with about hate. It's about what they're about. Like, for instance, I understand it's going to be an HBO special coming out about the Stewart case. And I find it interesting that they're saying that one of the panelists is going to be Jeffrey Brown. I mean, he worked with Ray Flynn in his administration. I'm just saying it's about calling them the way you see them. That's the bottom line. There are folks who are Asian who I talk to right now that don't consider me to be anti-Asian. I'm just saying that I look at the facts.
But Siddiqui, that's it. You just said the biggest. You said the biggest truth.
That's a ridiculous statement.
All right. So
you just said the biggest truth. You said the biggest truth. You call them like you see them. Right. You call them like you see them. The problem is that sometimes you want to impart your vision as if it is the truth. And like you said, oh, it's just the facts. No, those are your facts. And it's okay. But you should say to his logic.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
Because that's becoming a general theme.
I'm gonna be real quick.
What's the name school? They'll find and see if my opinion.
I'm gonna be real quick. Let him finish. Let you respond. I'm
gonna be real quick. Our differences have only been about the same differences that I have with anybody who I have differences with. It's about right and wrong. And see, what happens is when you speak about your track record is you have a track record of often being wrong. And
like Nubian Square?
No.
Or the Mecca Mall?
No,
the Million Man March?
Nubian Square. No. Okay, hold on, stop. Let's go point for point. Let's go point for point. Nubian Square, yes. And your obsession with the term Nubian that you later calmed the people to think that it had something with Nubian notion. Hold on. You asked, I'm going to answer you. You asked, I'm going to answer you. So after your failed attempts to do the Nubian thing, because you have a fascination with the term Nubian, as you do, Nubian leadership. Let me finish. Yeah. Nubian leadership circle and all that. When you failed in your early attempts, then you regrouped. You got more people involved. You then told people it also had to do with a tribute to Nubian notion. You rebranded it, and then that's when you became successful. Boom. Million Man March. You orchestrated yourself as one of the prime candidates, and then after that, with all the Million Man movements and the local organizing committee.
Why don't you just hold on? Can I finish?
You asked me a question. I'm giving you specific instances.
Time out, gentlemen.
I'm giving you specific instances.
Oh, no. Okay. I was the Million Man March coordinator for New England.
I know. I remember. And after that, all the local organizing committees were formed. And how did that work out? And once again, now Nubian Square, we've been on this radio for past weeks. You have a whole different version of what's going down Nubian Square. I've seen it. Larry,
you haven't been down there, brother. You haven't been down there. Well, let me just say this. See,
I'm down there all the time.
See, I can say what I want to say because I don't work for the city like you.
I work for the city.
I can say whatever I want to say too because I work for the city, but I'm still a free black man. Don't get that.
It's not personal with me. It's personal with you.
I just explained how it's not personal. Your inspiration. It's not personal. personal. Your information is incorrect. It's not personal. I have nothing personal. I wish well for you and your family.
Okay.
I'm telling you, it's the fact that your information
let's hear
is
from
incorrect.
Ditko, you're hearing what's taking place here. Is this a big part of why we're stuck kind of in the quicksand here, where we need to be working more in unison than and I get it. The people have different opinions on issues, and people see things from a different lens. Because I'm in agreement with Jamal on that Nubian Square. I mean, I'm down there all the time.
Larry, I'm through there three times a day.
I work for the city.
What have you seen in the last 2 weeks? You said you were going to go down there. What have you seen? You haven't seen anybody down there.
We've had several shootings down there. We've had I went down there once.
Jamal, you down at City Hall, so I know you haven't been there.
No, he is. He was there. I was there with him.
Oh, look here.
I was there with him recently.
I feed people. I deliver stuff. Lenny is my brother in the bookstore. My products are in the bookstore. I'm down there more than you. And matter of fact, in all the times I'm down there, in the past year, I've only seen you down there. That's a lie.
I was just recently down there, and it was my first time meeting Lenny.
Dr.
Honestly,
Bradley, we can reschedule to meet down there.
Okay.
I was going to say.
And let me say,
unfortunately, I was actually my wife was out of town, and I had to do
I've been through there every day. Them people ain't hanging out there.
I didn't get a chance to go down there, but I do want to get.
And when they cleared the tents out, I was there, and they are not down there on Ziegler Street.
Listen, I went down there. Jamal and I, we stopped back through there. We were coming from Cambridge. We stopped in there. Lenny was out there. He was out there cleaning up human waste and stuff.
Wait. Did you see people hanging out there? You did not.
Yes, we did. It was some Caucasian people.
How many times do we have to say yes? Yes.
We're standing outside there, and I'm watching.
Let's meet down there because I'd like to see where you all are going. Besides City Hall,
right in front of Lenny's bookstore, and then I drive around the entire block. After leaving Lenny's bookstore, I either go and take a right on Ziegler by the parking lot where people are there, where the Renter Center used to be, or Old School Roscoe's, or I go all the way down and take the left around the bowling building, up past the liquor store, and you go by Silver Slipper. They're all over there, Siddiqui. This is what I'm saying. I'm actually concerned because your version of reality is so skewed from the truth. That it's dangerous to me. It's really dangerous.
Explain to me why the Business Association and the folks down there are saying, Sadiqi, we appreciate the work you've been doing because it has improved significantly. And I can bring
because maybe like you, they have a skewed reality.
Okay.
You're certainly not talking to Lenny. Maybe like you, they have a skewed reality. And what about all the businesses that have closed down there?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. Are you serious?
There's a lot of folks out there who respect me, who don't have their personal agenda in terms of how they look.
I'm one of those people who respect you, but I don't live in an alternative reality.
How many times I got to say it's not personal, brother? It's not personal. We have a distance.
Gentlemen, let me bring Dicker into this conversation.
It's a joke to me.
Dicker.
Well, I'm glad you're amused. It's not personal for me, and it's not a joke for me how you misinform the community. It's not a joke. That's bad.
All right,
well, that's interesting that we won overwhelmingly around the vote for Nubian Square, so evidently I misinformed people because we got 80% of the vote.
Siddiqui, we got it.
And Nubian Square got 80% of the dope.
Ditko, what do you have to say? I know you've been waiting patiently. Is he still there? Ditko?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bring us back.
I just want to make sure that don't get me wrong, I don't. Never met the mayor, and I don't hate her. I want to get out there. One of the things about leadership is you have to surround yourself with people that you're going to have to eventually disagree with. Mm-hmm. One of the problems I have with the mayor, well, two things. Number one, she wants to be popular, and number two, she surrounds herself. You can agree or disagree with me, Larry or Dr. Bradley, that she surrounds herself just like any other body in any business or any politician with yes people. I don't hear anyone that's from her camp or her office that's at least one no person.
I think that's
you got to have a no person.
I think that's a fair assessment. I think you need to bring people around you who are not depending on just your anointment or their job is conditioned based on you, right? And that's fair because like for me, my job has been through several mayors' administration. I'm not hired and fired by the mayor. I'm not appointed by the mayor I'm appointed initially, and that's just kind of how it goes. But after that, I am not an employee like these other folks who are put in these cabinet positions. Those are all, they serve at the will of the mayor. I don't. And you need to listen to those folks sometimes as well. But I also want to, do you frequent or do you pass through Nubian Square at all? Ditko, trying to get an independent observation of the neighbor of that area, if you know it at all.
Yes, I pass by Nubian Square.
And what is your take on what you see?
Tell the truth and shame the devil.
I have seen no changes. I've seen many people selling cigarettes down at the bus stop. I've seen people, homeless people, I don't know what you want to call it, just walking around, acting like, I don't know, this a part of this world or somewhere high. Also, I've seen cops, the T-cops there, and they do absolutely nothing, huh?
Yeah, and you probably see the Boston cruisers with their lights on because that's all they do. So then I'm saying, Dr. Bradley, you're hearing from someone who is independent. I know you.
Let's meet there today. Let's meet there today.
You know,
leave the station, and we will meet there when you get off the air.
No,
we'll go there right now.
Hey, yo, hold on, check this out, Ditka. I don't believe what you just said because I think you got something personal against Siddiqui.
No, I don't.
Well, I don't know Ditka. But I know you. I chuckle when I hear you, Jamal.
Yeah, but see, the truth is the truth. So even if you think that I got something personal against you, I just said the same thing from a guy you don't even know from a $3 bill, right? And then you have an officer of the law on here who's telling you the same thing. And I can call people, and we can literally meet down there. After this broadcast, Larry, you feeling froggy? Because I still got socks to give out, and I got bagels in the truck. So we can go down Dudley right after this broadcast, literally. Oh, pardon me, down Dudley. Down Newman, pardon me.
I'll take the socks, brother, but I got to go to Saugus. I can't go. I got to take my wife someplace.
No, I can't go. I think you two can go down and see which lens, because like I said, that's why I asked Ditka. I wasn't trying to sway him in any way, but what was his take on that? And he said,
okay, look here. Let me close with this.
Go ahead.
I understand. I heard Dr. Bradley say he's got to do something. Look here. All I'm saying is that y'all are at that station. Within 5 to 10 minutes, you can be down at the square just to drive through there and then go and handle your business. I'm saying go on through there right now and observe what's going on. You don't have to even sit there and wait. Just go on through and tell me. Go down there and tell me you see bunches of people hanging out in the street. You won't see that.
Siddiqui, I guess it begs the point is, as Pastor Hobbs, I have to drag you into this. You go into Nubian Square. Do you see the improvements that the rest of us are not seeing?
You don't see people hanging out the way.
No, I wanted Pastor Hobbs to go. He's a traveler.
Well, I mean, actually, I don't get down there that much most recently, but the times that I've been there, I really haven't seen major change.
Well, I would argue that you're not going to see change immediately anyway. I mean,
sometimes we see what we want to see.
I'm not. What I'm saying is that sometimes, work was done to make a change. The change in the name has been successful, and the change of the attitude is going to take more time. I don't think you're going to see it immediately.
I can't believe what I'm hearing.
We can't believe what you're seeing.
Exactly, because you don't mess with reality. It's reality, and you're allergic to it.
No, I'm challenging you right now to come down to the square, and for 5 minutes, you drive.
Man, I'm staying on it. I'm putting my boots on right now. I'm staying on this phone. I'm putting my boots on right now. I might get there while we still broadcasting.
Let's go.
Okay.
So
I think I'm.
Tell me that you see bunches of people hanging out there selling
Dr. Bradley says he's going.
Cigarettes.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna take a try. I'm taking a ride.
Dr. Bradley's coming down there.
I got one boot on.
I'm done.
Don't worry about that. Still the other one.
I'm not in a position to speak. I'm gonna tell you from my experience that things takes time to change people's attitudes. That's all I'm saying. So I'm not saying it's
perfect. I'm just saying that there's a significant improvement in terms of the environment down there, to the extent that families feel more. I mean, they're doing little mini festivals and everything down there that you haven't seen before.
He's backpedaling, y'all. He's backpedaling.
Well, listen, we got a couple of minutes. I'm going to give each one of you a closing. I'm going to start with you, Siddiqui.
All I'm saying is that there's improvement down there. Talk to Captain Hussein.
I talk to him all the time.
Okay, and has he said to you, because I see him down there And when I see him, he gives me the thumbs up because he acknowledges the fact that things are improving.
No.
Business folks have mentioned it.
Okay.
And there's an agency down there where we want to, in fact, open up a walk-in health clinic, and their position previously was, well, we're concerned about the folks who hang out. That was last spring. Now they're saying there's significant improvement, and they're willing to consider opening the clinic down there.
Okay.
So, hey, maybe I'm just living a different life or something, but I'm down there 3 times a day, 6 and 7 days of the week,
Okay.
morning and evening. But I'm just, like I said before, we don't have to talk about it anymore. Just come on down to the square and tell me what you see, because I'm not seeing what you're seeing, and I'm down there.
Okay.
All right?
Wait a minute. So here we go. Someone just sent me this text. It said 3 weeks ago I took my 5-year-old grandson to the bookstore, and there were junkies shooting up in the parking lot. Now, someone listening to the show.
Those are more people who have something personal against the Diggy.
This person even
Okay, well, like I said before, come on down there because of the fact that the bottom line is that, because when you talk about the whole piece about the cruiser sitting there, Larry,
yeah.
that's, I got to look, everybody knows about how I've been anti-police, blah, 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 but that's about when you shoot a black man. But the bottom line is I've been giving credit to B2 because with the previous captain, before Hussein, I worked out something systemic wherein all I had to do was call 911. They would send a cruiser to park there with the blue light flashing. And these folks who hang out in the square, they're trying to figure out now where they can go because they can't shift to the other side now because of the fact that there's somebody there and they're trying to figure out where they can go. So, no, go through there today. Go on through there today.
All right. Well, we're gonna. Dr. Bradley is on his way, and I can't make it down there this morning myself. He can get me up there. I've been down enough, so I don't need to see it again. The smell.
I don't know what you're seeing, Larry.
That's my truck. That's my truck starting
you
up.
must be looking out the window from the bowling building.